What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Remy coming back with another Esbc banger for you guys. Now, as you can tell by the title, I am doing my full breakdown of the E3 Esbc trailer that we just had. Now, for those of you who didn't know, Esbc was featured on E3 where they showed only 2 minutes of Esbc, which to some people isn't a lot, but they showed a lot in that trailer. And if you didn't pay attention to it, it is very easy to get swept under the rug, and that is the point of this video, to kind of show y'all what most of the people have missed. Now, I'm not gonna go on any longer. Let's just get into the full breakdown. So starting off with the rosters, there were a few people on this list that was not mentioned in the fighter announcement showcases that we just had the past 3 times. And those names are David Benavidez, Caleb Truax, even though I'm pretty sure nobody's really checking for him like that, no offense to him. Nikita, aka White Chocolate Bobby, George Grove. Now, I'm pretty sure he was announced in the last past fighter announcement showcases. I could be wrong, but if he wasn't, then he was on that list at the E3 showcase. Javier Fortuna, Ricky Hatton, Sergey Kovalev, and Dmitry Bivol. Those were the names that stood out to me. I'm pretty sure there was people that y'all was looking for that I didn't say, so it's probably best if you go back and check out that roster yourselves and see who I missed. Now, hopping into the screenshots, one person I want to point out in particular is Josh Taylor. For one specific reason is because we now officially get to see how Josh Taylor looks in game. Last time we had seen Josh Taylor, it was, I believe, in the first fighter announcement showcase, and they were pretty much suiting him up to get put into the game, but we never really officially seen how Josh Taylor looked in Esbc. Not only did we get Josh Taylor, we also get to see how detailed and how the cut system is going to actually look in game. If you look at Josh Taylor, he has a big cut on his left eyelid, very similar to when Jojo Diaz fought Tevin Farmer, and he had that big cut on his eye too. Now, in my opinion, because there were a lot of controversy behind that particular screenshot and that cut, but in my opinion, it do look realistic, but we can't really judge it or go in depth about it because the way how the angle is, you can't really see the cut. You can see that the cut is pretty deep, but it's angled off to the side, and also the sun is also beaming at Josh Taylor's face as well, so we can't really depict on how color accurate that cut was, because the angle that we had, it was just too bland for us to go in depth off of. Now, hopping into the movement, one thing I want to pinpoint is David versus Joe Frazier. Now, if you look, David is on his bicycle. He is moving back. He's moving back, right? Now, you have Joe Frazier, who is running towards David, trying to finish off the job. Why is that? Because David is hurt. How do we know that he's hurt? If you look in the bottom right corner, you will see that David, his health bar is blinking red. So, therefore, that's indicating that David is clearly hurt. Last time we had seen Joe Frazier run, right, there were a lot of controversy behind that. Now, Esbc had pushed that system into a more common sense effect. Like, David is hurt, but there is some distance between David and Joe Frazier, so Joe Frazier runs to David to finish off that job. Example 2 of that is Johnny Nelson versus Joe Joyce. Now, one thing I want to point out, look at how Johnny is moving. When he take that step to the left, he's wobbling. Now, if you pay attention to Joe Joyce, he's perfectly fine. He's walking, he's not staggering. But why is Johnny wobbling though? Because he is hurt. If you look on the bottom right hand corner again, The player icon for Johnny, the right side of his face is red and his left body is also red. And his health bar is also blinking, so which indicating that he's hurt. Now, shouts out to Esbc because I feel like people don't give them the credit that they deserve as far as pinpointing certain details whenever it comes to how players move and stuff like that. This is a great example of how somebody's supposed to move. When you see somebody staggering, their legs are gone. And I've talked about this before, so I'm not gonna really go in depth with it, but their legs are gone, right? Johnny, his legs is gone. He's hurt. Like he's ready to get dropped. If Joe is to throw a punch, he's getting dropped, flat out. So shout out to Esbc for that. Now we're gonna hop into the gameplay, and the reason why I'm getting into the gameplay is one particular reason, because I feel like people don't really talk about how Esbc pinpoints perfect technique, and I'm gonna give y'all a few examples of that right now. The first one, we look at David, right? Trivia question: what fighting stance is David in? If you are a real fan of boxing, that should be a real easy question for you. David is in a Philly shell stance. Now that is a true Philly shell stance because that's how James Toney fought. James Toney, when he would fight, his lead shoulder was turned to his opponent, right? So that way, if they was to throw a punch, like for example, say if your opponent threw a right straight, right? Being that your shoulder is turned to your opponent, you can roll with that punch, and it's going to leave a window to counter your opponent. And Esbc also confirmed that countering will be done by movements and by positioning. So being that you're in a Philly shell, you are already positioned to throw a counter and roll with the punch. Now, one thing I want to point out, because I noticed people was asking about this, if you can use high guard and Philly shell at the same time. It is confirmed by Esbc, not from their mouth, but from this gameplay. If you look at David, when he throws that 1-2, he immediately goes into high guard. Now, we can confirm that at first he was in the Philly shell. After he threw his jab and that straight, he immediately went into high guard. So that is confirmation that you can go into high guard and Philly shell at the same time. Now, speaking on countering and stuff like that, right? We have this clip of Arturo Gatti throwing a very wild haymaker against Mickey Ward. Now, I must say the haymaker is a little bit over exaggerated, but this tells you how much of a window you will have if you miss your power shot. Now, this is going into perfect technique because immediately after Arturo Gatti misses his haymaker, right? What does Ward do? He ducks the punch and he counters with his left hook. But what is Mickey Ward doing as he's countering with his left hook? He is holding the phone. What does that mean? When you're throwing a punch, the hand that is not being thrown, so for example, if I'm throwing a right hook, my left hand is covering the left side of my face in case my opponent throws something back. That is perfect technique. That is pinpoint technique. Arturo Gatti misses his punch. Mickey Ward ducks it. Mickey Ward counters with his left hook while also holding the phone with his right hand. That is pinpoint technique. That is beautiful boxing by Esbc. Now, something I want to bring to light really quickly is how much of a window you will have with the countering system. As I talked about before, when you throw a power shot, it seems like you will have a window to counter, because being that Arturo Gatti threw a power shot and he missed, Ward had a huge opportunity to counter that. So it seems like power shots will have to be more used strategically, because if you miss a power shot, your opponent now has a window to counter you, and depending on the stage of the fight, that can cost you the fight. So say like if you're late in the fight, like the 8th round, 9th round, 10th, right, and you're kind of showing fatigue on your face and you throw a power shot, you miss, your opponent counters that could lead you to being knocked out. So power shots seem like they have to be used more on a strategical end. If not, it could cost you in the long run. So hopping into the footwork, this is also pinpoint accuracy by Esbc. Beautiful stuff by Esbc, right? Now, if you look, you can see David being aggressive, being on the offensive end. Joe Frazier, he's on his back foot. He's being defensive. Watch what Joe Frazier does. Joe Frazier checks left hook him while also pivoting out to his left. So he just circled around. He circled to David's right while check left hooking David, which also led David to be on the ropes and Joe Frazier to be on the outside. So that whole sequence shows you can be defensively responsible in Esbc, because that small sequence right there with the check left hook while you're pivoting out, that was a trap. Now David back is on the ropes. If Joe Frazier wanted to, he could have teed off on David, right? You can be defensively responsible in Esbc. But also, footwork can also be a offensive tool, because David could have trapped Joe in that corner. David could have been the reason why Joe was in that corner in the first place by his footwork. You can also pin somebody to the ropes by being on the offensive side. I do want to see a clip of Esbc showing that, right? Like you trapping somebody by your offense from your footwork. Now, the second example of footwork and being defensively responsible, we're gonna tap into aimbot playing against the art director for Esbc. Now, like I said, pinpoint technique. Watch aimbot, who was on the left. He's a dev for Esbc. He's on the left. Aimbot throws that straight, boom, and then he moves back immediately, evading anything that is coming towards him. So he's thinking 2 steps ahead of his opponent, because he threw that straight. He knew his opponent is going to try to throw something back, so immediately he steps back before his opponent can get anything off on him. Swim without getting wet. That is the purest form at its finest. Throwing that straight and getting out of dodge the quickest way as possible. So, like I said, you can be defensively responsible in Esbc, and you can also be offensively responsible in Esbc. It just depends on how you want to play. If you are more aggressive or if you are more offensive, you can still do what you have to do to accomplish that. If you're more defensive, if you like fighting more on your back foot, you can also do that in Esbc. Now, closing off the chapter, I want to talk briefly about the menu UI. It's very simplistic, if I'm being honest with you. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's simplistic. It gets the job done. One thing I do want to kind of talk about though is the events tab. If you look, there's, I think it's Caleb Plant versus Canelo. I don't know if that's like a real boxing event type of ordeal, if that's something that they're doing with all boxers or any fighting event. So say like if AJ fights Usyk, I don't know if that's going to be shown there. If it is going to be shown there, that is a big deal for Esbc, because some people may not be in tune with what's going on in boxing, right? So the fact that you have real life events, boxing events going on with any type of boxer who's not in Esbc, that's a big thing. But if I gotta keep it real, I'm 98% sure that it's gonna be for Esbc boxers only because AJ is not in Esbc, but Usyk is. So they may promote that fight just because Usyk is in it, and it's another way to promote their boxers as well. Because Jorge just fought Haney, right? When Jorge fought Haney, Jorge had Esbc on the back of his trunks, and it was a big logo on the back of his trunks. Like, you could not miss Esbc on the back of his trunks. So I hope it's for every boxer, but if it's only for ESBC fighters only, I would not be mad at that either, because at least they're promoting the boxers at least. But on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Let me know y'all thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. I'm always eager to know. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. And it's your boy Remy. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.